StockTwits crew, happy FAFO Friday. Hope everybody is having a great morning so far and a great week trading. It's been a crazy one, huh, Michael?
It's been,
Some crazy volatility, some crazy downside, a bunch of news coming out and data throughout the week. So
yeah,
definitely want to talk about it and get into some of the trades we were taking throughout the week and just what we have to look forward throughout the day. But yeah, how we feeling about the morning here?
we're hanging out at the low end of the range. We broke it yesterday, so that puts some caution flags up, and I think we need to see a green day today in order for me to continue my kind of bullish permeable kind of stance.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. All the downside lately, I've been loving it, and I've been pretty bearish for the most part. But coming into these lower levels, I've been a little more on the bullish side of things, and I'm with you. I want to see a good day today. I
Hmm.
think it could be good, but as of what I'm seeing right now in pre-market with NFP data coming out, markets continuing the downside so far. So we'll see what we get into the open, but um, but yeah, I mean, yesterday stocks had their worst day of 2025 so far, despite Trump's tariffs postponements for Mexico and Canada. So I mean, how were you taking advantage of yesterday's trading?
It's all volatility right now, right? I've been saying it all year is you have to be in a buy the dip, sell the dip mantra, right? You can't be doing the I'm buying big cap stuff because it's breaking out. That game's just over, right? So it's about being more tactical, light on your feet. You get into some names on a dip, you try to scalp them out as quickly as you can higher. Spend most of your time sitting in a lot of cash waiting for that next dip to happen. And I think that's going to be, I don't know, could be the next 4 years at this point with what we're seeing, but I think it's definitely going to be the next couple months anyway.
Yeah, and honestly, lately I've been selling a lot of long-term positions myself personally, just of individual names. I personally am gonna hold my SPY and like QQQ stuff like that for.
Hmm.
I'm not selling anything like that, right? But in terms of a lot of like individual positions, I am just kicking those to the curb at the moment and saying, hey, next time we get a real cycle to the downside, I'll look to throw this back into the S&P, maybe DCA a little bit, but I'm getting a little more risk off here, a lot more cash, just seeing what I'm seeing. But with that said, S&P 500, I'm really not. I'm not gonna look to sell that, right? The general markets when you look at
Right.
a yearly chart and see what it does
Hmm.
over and over, right? But yeah, NFP just came out this morning as well, increased by a seasonally adjusted 151,000 on the month, better than the downwardly revised 125,000 in January, but less than 170,000 consensus forecast from Dow Jones. So, what do we think about that, Michael Nauss, and
The
how that might affect the market today?
Yeah, the problem with a lot of these numbers, especially as a technician, right, is you revised, revised, revised. So you never seem to really know what the number is until kind of much later. But we look at what the market's reaction is to it, right? Initial spike up that got everyone super excited, and now we're selling. As we're talking, we're at pre-market lows, and flirting with that kind of low of yesterday. So any hype that was initially kind of given to this has just completely been sucked out of the room. So. Um, you know, I think that reaction's a little bit more interesting because it's probably an algorithm like you talked about, looking at the number and then seeing, oh no, there's a revised number, so quickly buy, and then oh no, we're wrong, and then quickly sell. So overall, the consensus of the market is bearish, at least for now.
Yeah, I'm just continuing to see confluence for the bearish thesis. Even though, to be honest, when I look lower, I'm like, okay, I mean, I have levels lower. Don't get me wrong, but with the market falling, I'm like, okay, we need a little retracement from some of these areas we're coming in. But of course, the market can do whatever it wants, right? And
Exactly.
just when you think, oh, it can't fall anymore, it will rug another 100 points on you, right? I mean, how many
Hmm.
times have we all felt that before? So, got to be careful in this environment. But again, volatility is opportunity, and if you're sizing properly and taking advantage of it, I think it can be super beneficial with the clean, fast moves we're getting. It can be
Yep.
scary though. I've gotten a few times this week. I've gotten scared out of a few positions just from the volatility, right? And
Hmm.
not just trust in the trading process, but that's the environment for you right now.
Higher volatility, right? Buy the dip, sell the rip, and then most importantly, lower your size. Right, you're going to get the same return with less size when it's more volatile. So, right, step back and trade a little smaller, and your gray hairs will thank you.
Yeah, 100%. Reminder for the StockTwits crew. We have the StockTwits Cash Tag Awards presented by eToro, celebrating top stocks, market trends, and community influencers. The community-driven voting open until March 21st. So just wanted to throw that out there. There's that as well. You guys can see that post on the StockTwits platform as well. So gonna be a good time. I will be there. I think Michael Nauss is gonna be there. I think Shy is gonna be there as well. The whole crew is gonna be there. So it's gonna be a fantastic time and definitely gonna be fun.
If you guys will let a Canadian in, I'll try to be
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Things are a little contentious
I
right now,
vote
but we'll
yes.
see.
Michael's a cool guy. I vote yes. Some key market drivers, obviously, tariff news have been, I mean, the
Yeah.
key driver of the volatility lately. You know, you see a tweet about tariffs or that word comes out of Trump's mouth. You know what I mean? And it goes instantly to the markets there. So delayed Mexican Canadian tariffs by a month, but markets stayed negative. Didn't really care about that. ECB policy, so European Central Bank cut rates for the sixth time in 9 months, aiming to support eurozone growth. So interesting stuff. Yeah, what do you think about that, Michael?
I'm just bringing up the Dixie, the dollar index. So yeah, the dollar fell pretty dramatically on that news. So it just shows that kind of the rest of the world, and this is just how it works, right? If the rest of the world is lowering rates, then that will affect the dollar more than anything. So I think people are looking to see maybe the U.S. catch up on lower rates. We know that's what the Trump administration wants as well. So I think people are kind of pricing in potential lower rates, especially if you're seeing them across the world, right? Just means, and so lower rates in theory are going to be good for stocks, but it seems like the markets are focused on other stuff right now anyway.
Yeah. Then we had AVGO. They had earnings yesterday. I didn't even really look at the chart, but I know they're up because I heard about it all over Twitter, just seeing my timeline. Yeah, wow, beautiful move from AVGO. Right before earnings popped, it was at right around 180 bucks. Popped all the way to 214. So that's an insane move. Jeez, beautiful for them.
When I like, if you look at the scroll up and look at the chart there from a little longer term point of view, look at, a 3 month chart or something. Yeah, you can see the sell off that took place into the move.
Hmm.
And that to me is always interesting because it just shows you what the market was betting. Like they're betting, people were dumping this AVGO into earnings, and even yesterday selling off there into earnings. So sometimes when you get that gap up after a pretty dramatic sell into earnings, you get a lot of people caught off guard, right? People sold yesterday and then they're seeing a gap up today and they go, oh man, right? All the news was good. They heard the CEO get hyped, all these things. Everyone got super excited, and you get that kind of regret and FOMO from dumping it over this last couple of weeks. So right? If that's going to happen, then that sometimes these gaps can be interesting, right? A trader I used to trade with always called them pro gaps. You'd look for something ripping and then gap down, or you'd see something tanking and gap up, and then you kind of say, okay, well, there's probably some shorts caught off guard, probably some longs as well that need to recover there.
Yeah, overall for AVGO, obviously they had a double beat, record financial performance, strong AI revenue growth, R&D investments. They're increasing its R&D investments, focusing on next generation AI accelerators and networking solutions. So overall, the call highlighted Broadcom's strong performance and growth potential in AI and infrastructure software, while also acknowledging challenges in non-AI segments and external market uncertainties. So good stuff for AVGO. You know, I love to see it. The U.S. added 151,000 jobs. Oh, is that? This is some of the unemployment data here. Short of the expected 160,000, they added 151,000, but still more meh than panic worthy. Unemployment crept up slightly to 4.1%. So basically just noise unless it starts repeating. Federal government said nah, shedding 6,700 jobs, signaling budget tightening is already here. Tech, finance, and retail are already throttling back hiring, a red flag for job market optimism. What do we think about that, Michael, with the data coming in there?
It doesn't seem like big enough numbers to matter. I think I read a stat somewhere, and it's hard for me to kind of get my head around how much more people there are down there than there is up here. But like 5 million Americans a month change jobs. So when you're seeing numbers in the hundred thousands, they feel big, but it looks like kind of like you mentioned, where the market that's not that big of a deal. What the market's looking for from jobs is again, there's two mandates technically by the Fed, right? Is to inflation and jobs. So unless either of those move substantially, either of those move in a way that J Pow is going to take notice, I think it's just one of those. Okay, we got that out of the way. Now let's worry about tariffs, right? It's always what's the market worrying about today. So the fact that it was nothing, I think, is kind of even more bearish than anything, because it doesn't give, everyone's looking for the excuse that JPOW is going to use to lower rates again, and kind of give us a little kick higher. And the fact that they were meh, like the thing said there, it's probably bearish more than anything.
Yeah. We also had HPE earnings. Hewlett Packard Enterprise plummeted on weak guidance and looming layoffs. So that chart is looking really rough. If you pull that up, massive move to the downside. So obviously horrible for that. I don't know. What does that chart look like to you on a higher time frame, Michael? I mean,
Just
gosh.
so this is the opposite, right? So this is one that, we saw AVGO was selling off in earnings, and then it gapped higher, and this one's selling off in earnings and it gapped lower. So there's nothing really that, this is not the market to be missing. Let's just put it that way, right?
Yeah.
There's markets where you can maybe have a little bit of a runway to miss earnings here or there. This isn't it, right? People are gravitating towards the strongest and the best in breed. And if you miss in this cycle of earnings, I feel sorry, but yeah, you're gonna get taken to the woodshed.
Yeah, and they actually reported strong revenue growth and a commitment to innovation. It just faces challenges in profitability, market competition, impact of tariffs, necessitating careful management and strategic adjustments moving forward. So
And I think that's
um,
going to be kind of a theme, like how
yeah,
people would count the amount of times a company said AI to rally its price
yeah,
into earnings. I think it's going to be one of those. The more you talk about tariffs, the more you're going to get hit. Because what people are looking for is they're looking for companies to say, we don't, it's not going to affect us. We don't really care. So that, right, people can gravitate money into that. So if you're saying tariffs are going to hurt us, it's going to hit our bottom line. Well, if you think about it, there's 20-25% tariffs being talked about. So if you're going to lose that top line, it makes sense that you get hit around 20%. Right?
yeah, absolutely. China's bright spot. The country aims for 5% GDP growth in 2025, fueling stimulus speculation. JD beat earnings expectations on rebounding domestic consumption. We had that earlier yesterday morning. That's when it was. Yeah, they had a double beat revenue 3.43%, beat EPS by 13.33%. So looking really good. Overall, JD demonstrated a strong performance in 2024 with positive growth indicators in strategic investments while also facing challenges in certain segments and market conditions, which a lot of companies are. I didn't look at the chart though. Um, let's see how that's been doing since then.
Gee,
Oh, it's
just
up.
yeah,
It's not going crazy, but it's definitely up and holding pretty well. So we'll see how today goes. You got
well,
any
yeah, and
thoughts for JD?
the thing about with these things gapping, right? You got to understand is that they release everything in their market. So they're going to gap. The gaps are a little bit muted, but FXI, I've been kind of pounding the table for a long time. So I'm talking my book for sure as someone who owns a lot of Chinese names. But I think you got to go where the strength is right now. It's in China, right?
Yeah. Um, Also, Alibaba, that one's been doing really good. Hit a multi-year high after unveiling an AI model to rival top competitors. Just looking at the chart, Michael, when I look at this, you know, when I look at it here, I don't want to be buying here, right? But I'm curious on your thoughts. Like, we've just been consolidating here. Do you think there's another potential buying opportunity here before we maybe move higher, get through this zone? I know we were talking about Baba previously. I kind of have this zone from, what is this, like 140 to 160 that we definitely could see some
Hmm.
interesting moves in. But I'm interested on your thoughts. We're looking really strong and just kind of consolidating sideways here.
So yeah, again, I own it. I'll always try to say that before, just so people know from talking my books. But yeah, I like the kind of high tight flag that's going on here. You can see it right there in the chart over just the last little bit. Even though the market, the SP 500 has been falling, Bob has just been kind of hanging out and chilling, and that's the definition of relative strength. It means that when people are selling the market, they're not selling Baba, and they're not selling a lot of these Chinese names. So flight to safety, which usually you'd think means selling a lot of your Chinese holdings, but they're holding up pretty well along with the rest of the world. And I did see that comment in chat. So when we get to my charts, we'll do a little round the world trip, because there are some nice beacons of strength out there outside of the U.S. And I think that's just more of the same. People just gravitating to different areas of the market to try to get away from the tariffs and get away from some of the volatility that's happening in the U.S. by spreading their money out a little bit.
Yeah, we'll definitely touch on some of those. We had Intuitive Machines misstep. Their lunar lander failed to land properly, causing the stock to plunge. StockTwits launched a new Why It's Trending feature to give quick AI-driven summaries on volatile stocks, so definitely check that out. And just some tickers that had some decent moves. We had Netflix down 8%. Analysts maintain a neutral view amid slowing growth. Gap was up 16%, best gross margin in 2 decades, and solid holiday numbers. We had Costco down 3%. They met revenue, but fell short on earnings. Membership renewals still climbing. We had Alphabet testing a lower price ad-free YouTube subscription tier in the U.S. They were down negative 0.2%. So not a big move. Big Bear AI down 26%, missed on earnings and lower fiscal 2025 guidance. And then Walgreens buyout, the private equity Sycamore Partners takes Walgreens private, fueling speculation about other legacy brands. So that's kind of some of the tickers that have been moving big and just having some interesting stuff going on with them. Michael, I know you got your charts. You want to bring those up, and we'll run through
Sure,
some tickers with the chat and run through what we're seeing.
absolutely. Let's do
Market's trying to hang on here, but we'll see how this goes into the open.
yeah, we'll take a look at that first. Just go to SPY. And yeah, this is again, this area was huge. This last gap down we had that just kind of ripped right in everyone's face. That was again huge. Everyone in the world was watching that. You didn't have to be a technician to say, okay, this we could even expand this out. This 180 to 175 zone, you can see the support back here. Buyers came in here. Buyers came in again here. So everybody out there was watching like a hawk this particular zone and just couldn't do it, right? Just couldn't hold that. That's what we need to see happen in the market. So there's kind of two options the way I look at it. One is it's broken. It's a broken support, and you need to, when you break support, you need to walk away. Say, okay, support's broken, it's time to go. The other option is that this is just a little bit of a bear trap, where you get those undercuts and then rallies back up through. That's could be what we're seeing here. And if it is, then I think it's one of those that's a buyable event. So that's what I'm saying today is really important, because if we get back above this, 575-ish and we close strong, then I want to be definitely involved in that particular trade right there. But that's what we're looking at there. And just to talk about what happened in the pre-market, it's a nice big rip. So this was the second the number came out, everyone went, yes, very exciting. The number is doing great. And then with revisions and people reading, we're back down. So we're back at those lows. So that's what I'm going to watch today, is us hanging out at those lows. But for the user that was talking about looking around the world, a couple places actually look nice. So KWeb, China, we already talked about, right? It's a big deal. It's very important that China ends up holding here. I think because it's one of those where kind of shows that the market doesn't care too much about these tariffs and about all this. If China can hold even in the face of tariffs, shows that there's really good strength under the hood, like really good strength under the hood. And I think that's again what we need to see. But some other places look good. So I think it's EWU. Yeah, United Kingdom. So United Kingdom, UK there, right? We're flirting not with all-time highs, but look at how important this level's been. And if we are zooming in over the last few years, if we're just anchoring to this high right here, which is kind of the election area high, if we're above that or at that, it's showing good strength. And the fact that again the market selling off in such a dramatic fashion, how it has over the last little bit, and this holding up, looks good to me. And then a couple other things like Japan, I think is yeah. So this is the hedged. So this is basically a
That's
currency
some
hedged version.
consolidation right there.
Yeah. So this is it's a little bit complicated, but most of these things are priced in different currencies. This does some currency hedging to make sure that it's not responding so much to the complete fall apart that's been happening of the dollar, or of the yen has been just falling apart. So it's consolidating at high, but I'm just like, look at the last week, right? And the last week in the SPY looks like this. So some of these other countries, they're holding up great. Again, I think it's one of those, if the market's going to be really, really choppy, then as if I'm a large investor, I'm gonna look for places to go. I'm gonna look for places to put my money into. So that's one thing I want to keep in mind there. And there was Lunar. We can look at that too, because I got out of the position, but I
Yeah, it's
bought a
been
little
pulling
bit in
back.
through here on this bounce, and then yeah, when it was selling through here, I just exited that, just looking for a short term bounce on that. But there's a lot out there moving like this. Gonna go through. Yes, people are want us to look at AVGO. As you mentioned, that's got earnings. One of the things I just like to do every morning is just look at this heat map. So what I've been doing is I've been pulling out anything up or down a percent or less. I'm just not interested in that. I don't think it's a big. It doesn't matter at that point. So I want to see anything that's moving big, and you can see again that Christmas tree style look where you're saying, all right, Lunar up big, and then you have everything else down pretty big, or not, sorry, Lunar, AVGO up big, and then everything else down pretty big. So that's something that I'm watching incredibly closely. It's if we can't get some catch up here, then that's pretty worrisome to me. But the chart, again, we mentioned big gap up after that particular move. And when it's after a sell off, so people are selling, people are getting short, it's gapping up. So if you sold, you're having a bad time. If you shorted, you're definitely having a bad time. So some of those people may cover, but the pre-market action is definitely not encouraging, right? This is what happened
No,
after hours, and we're just bleeding
it's
down
the bull
here
flag
on
that
this.
keeps on falling, huh?
Yeah. So keeps going. So you need to see obviously some buyers step in when the market opens. We got 8 minutes for that. But you know, if it's you see this, right? Called it the rainbow of death back in the trading firm. And you get all these fancy colors on the way up, you get all these fancy colors on the way back down. But just like we talked about, right? What we're trying to always look at is where the buyers and sellers, right? Where are they hanging out? And pretty much everyone, unless you got that initial spike, is already underwater on their AVGO position.
Hmm.
So, right, not something that I think people are interested in trading too much. If it can't hold on, if it can't get going, that's what we need to see. So I'm actually watching this for a break and a close back through VWAP here. Maybe take a little purchase just based on how much I like the daily chart. But if it's just going to bleed all day, then I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And just, I mean, just taking a look at the general markets too, like NQ, we're looking at SPY, just looking at basically QQQ.
Hmm.
I'm, we're trying to bounce it here. I still think we need to move it a bit lower to go higher here, just going into the open here. But
Yeah.
I would like to see some upside today. It's really like more make or break for me today, and it doesn't mean, oh, like if today we don't bounce, the market's just completely cooked. It's just like for me and the way I'm looking at things, I really want to see a decent day today,
Yeah.
bouncing back kind of into the weekly range that we've made, or else it kind of puts me in a real state of caution for the market. And like I said, I've sold a lot of my long term investments. In terms of like the individual names, of course, like real long term investments, I'm not selling, but those
Hmm.
individual names I've been taking profits on. And I'm not just buying this dip, right? We have dipped a decent amount. I think, are we at like a 10% correction now? I think we hit that yesterday.
Yeah. It's
I think we
I don't
got
like
close
these
to that.
arbitrary amounts that the market comes up with
I
for
know.
this is a correction and this is a bear market, but I'm showing 7, so we got a little bit
Okay.
to go.
Okay, we got a little bit to go if it is, a
I
10%
think
pullback.
I think the Qs might be 10%.
Yeah,
SPY is
that might be what it was.
doing a little better. It's a little bit more diversified
Um,
across different assets.
Yeah. Either way, I'm just like for me, we were talking about it backstage. Like I'm not really, being a real investor until we see, a real cycle to the downside because I just don't, I'm not saying it's I guess bad to be like DCAing on these dips or anything. It's just for me. I want to see a real cycle to the downside because what we're starting to see is pretty nasty. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I'm not just gonna jump on it right away blindly when I don't know for sure like what's going on yet.
Well, yeah, and this is where I think time frame is very important, right?
Yeah.
When I'm talking about buy the dip, sell the rip, right? I'm a a quant, right? I'm a systematic trader. I've got strategies that say this is oversold. Here's where you buy. Here's where your stop loss is. You're out in like a week, right? That's one of my favorite
Yep.
pullback or mean reversion type strategies. So for a long-term trade, I'm 100% with you. I think you gotta just take that trade, and if you're going to trade it. But if you're looking for a long term, then I think you just watch and you let the market bounce a little bit, and then you get in on the way back up, right? So for example, right, one of more longer term trade I'm going to do is if we end up rallying today and closing above this line right here, just because there are so many buyers that came in back here, there are so many buyers that have now bounced it twice. If we can get that rally, I'm going to buy some with a stop under this low, and that might be a could be a day hold if it comes back and stops me out, but it could be a multiple day or multiple week hold. So if you're trying to like really get in for a big move, I think that's kind of how you do it. So you pick these little spots, you say, okay, I'm going to wait for the market to prove that there's some strength here, that there's something going on, not just on the way down, because these can just be free falls, right? We haven't seen anything huge like this yet, but remember, this was that yen carry blow up thingy, right, where we just bled and kind of flushed all the way down. So we could see one of those where people just kind of put their hands up and say that's it, and then there's just no bids in the market, and then it's just kind of sells on the way down. That to me is usually when you get aggressive. But you notice right on this day it was a really, really strong day, so you could have waited for that reversal before you get in. If you look at these on a weekly chart, right, you always got that time to get in, right? If you waited for this week, just the gap down and rip on the week, then you say, okay, well, that now it's time for me to take a dip a toe back in. But when we're just bleeding like this ugly weekly candle that we're seeing right here, again, it's not for me to kind of front run that steamroller.
Yeah, it's funny too when you look at every time we kind of got bought up there. It's so aggressive relative to the dips down to it, or like maybe some of the green candles you do see, some of those green days within the dip, right? So that just goes to show like when you're looking to kind of buy up these dips, along with what you're saying, you look for kind of out of the ordinary, right? If you're seeing, we're dipping in a range, but there's not real aggression when you look at the daily chart. You see that daily candle closing as a doji. It's probably not the day you want to be taking a shot, right? But when we're at the bottom of the range and you see a massive day where, we popped, I don't know, 2.5% or whatever, and it closed with a full body and it looks really aggressive, that's a better shot, right? That's a better take than trying to just blindly do it on, where there's no aggression. So looking for out of the ordinary, I think is really good for that as well.
Yeah, you want to see
But yeah,
you want to see animal spirits come back for like at
yeah,
least a day, like
exactly. And even one day sometimes doesn't make a trend, right? But if you're already in that trend, which the market was in, right? This bull trend, well, we're still in it. That weekly's starting to scare me though, Michael. That weekly chart, the way we're breaking down. If we close like that right there, so you see how we're trying to close below the body of like that last series of up close candles. That's starting to worry me a little bit. I don't love that. So again, that just leads to me. I want this market to bounce more today, but looking at it right now, she is not wanting to do that, rejecting the London low and just continuing downside on NQ here. So not looking too great. I know we got Lia in the waiting room. She's going to join us. She's going to share some trades we had from the week, and we're going to talk about the morning and getting ready for the day. But let's get Lia up in here.
So we'll see as we're just a minute or so into the bell. This is what I'm watching, the shaded kind of pink area, these areas, right? I always try to draw them with zones because they're just that. But yeah, some sort of undercut of this and then rally back through, that might be interesting for a little short-term scalp. If we hold above it, I just don't see that very often where it holds a level perfectly and then it bounces. Usually there's at least an attempt to flush kind of the liquidity that, the stop losses that exist under yesterday's low, and then a break. But yeah, it's really, you just got to wait to see what happens here right off the open for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Let's just take a look at NVIDIA too, because NVIDIA is something that, one of the last individual names I have that I'm holding. There's that bell. And I'm getting close to taking my cheese, Michael, because no matter what, I'm still going to get exposure to it through S&P. So I'm not worried about like missing out. You know, and I'm even on these dips, I'm still up, you know, upwards of 200% on my shares. I am getting to the point where, I mean, I'm telling myself right now, if we don't have a decent day today, I'm probably gonna part ways with it. I'm curious on your thoughts on that. Obviously, I know it's, you know, there's no advice or anything. I'm just I'm curious on your thoughts. There's Leah as well. Hello, Leah.
Yeah, just to
Hi, good morning. How are
Good morning.
you?
Good morning. Doing great. How are you?
morning. How are you
Good,
holding up
good.
in this crazy market? A
It's
lunar.
okay. I don't care.
Good. That's the right mentality to have right there. It's just
Yeah.
right. How detached can you be?
I changed my strategy at the beginning of the year, so I was ready for this, you know? So I'm like, okay, this is what I literally expected it's gonna happen perfectly. Like my playbook is playing out 100%.
That's good. Yeah, we have to
Yeah.
adapt, right? I mean, this market has been so wild. It's just craziness pretty much every day. And
Yeah.
so you got to be on point for sure. I found myself just again just taking so much less trades. Are
Yeah.
you kind of doing the same thing, or are you just kind of, or are you trading just, I guess, different tickers? I know you've showed us some of the stuff you're trading previously, and I know it's kind of different than I guess the normal tickers that people are trading. Is that really the style you're going into more, rather than I guess trading less like I am?
I'm trading much less.
Oh, okay.
I'm barely swing trading,
Yeah.
barely, because literally everything I swing trade wants to. It's just like you know, the swing trade becomes a day trade at this point. So that's what I observed, quick in and out with this market, and you know, I just, as I said, I did a lot of international markets, so I did pretty well this year so far. I
Yeah.
can show you some of the tickers that I'm in, and I'm still going to be in them, and I will still keep adding to those tickers, to be
Yeah,
honest
here.
with you.
Yeah, I'll
Michael, if you want to
stop
stop
and
sharing, we'll get Leah on there. She can
change
share
screen
some of
over.
her charts. Yeah.
But it's funny while you set that up, it's funny how different people deal with the volatility in different ways. Like I was just saying, I'm trading way more. I'm one that I
I
love to
know it's
just
funny.
buy a basket of stocks and put on a trailing stop and move. But how I'm dealing with it is just really downing my size and just scalping, right? Buy dips, sell rips, kind of
Yeah,
over and over again.
And you're
it's a scalping paradise, but even with my scalper friends told me that it's pretty difficult for them, and I don't scalp. I don't like it. I mean, I take one or two scalps a week, but to me, honestly, I just don't like scalping. So it's difficult for me. But I did really well with those, like just allocating in stocks that are in a breakout and they are in a stage two. You know, so like, I'm happy to share some names. There are some Italian banks that I've been in. They're doing really well. I will show you guys, and I can show you the trades I took this week also. So, for example, there is the UCG Unicredit Bank. I mean, this has a beautiful trend. So this one I've been riding. Uh, you can look at this one. So these are the trends I want to be in. And then of course the Rheinmetall and the Leonardo and Bea systems. These are all the three that are my favorite ones. Today they're having a little down day, but I've been in for a while. I was posting I took 50% off of this position in this job, and I'm staying with 50% in the position. If we retest back down, I will be adding to those because I do really believe these companies have a huge future currently what's happening in Europe. Even if Ukraine and Russia would find some a kind of a peace, which I don't think they will, because it's just like two stubborn bulls, both of those countries. Europe is going to spend insane amounts of money on defense, right?
Yeah.
So I have all the numbers. So it's Rheinmetall. The American ticker is RNMBY. And then the Italian one, Leonardo, they work together. They're really great with tanks and with ships that they're making. Is the Leonardo Spa? It's Finmi is the ticker in the US. I trade them on European exchanges as LDO. But just when you look at those, now I'm waiting for retest again because I sold half of those. And then this was my breakout level I was posting, and look what happened. Amazing.
Wow.
So this one I've been in for a while too. And what I traded today, it's UNH. You know, people like, oh, this is bad. Look, it's a perfect gap fill. And UNH usually does really well when the tech is selling off. It's kind of like a hedge, inflation-proof stock. So this one is my trade entry 477. I'm aiming for the target of 499. And then let me actually see how my other swing trade is doing. I'm in this AEM, it's a gold miner. So this one, I like the breakout of this kind of a flag, bull flag, and I'm in this swing trades. But these are like very selected swing trades I would be in. And what I actively day traded was MSTR. This stock is just absolutely fabulous to trade.
Yeah, insane.
Yeah,
MSTR, yeah.
MSTR is
yeah,
just such a wild one.
yeah.
Gotta love it.
Look, it's risky because you don't never know the next day. But I think the 200 moving average bounce really works well. So we traded it from Friday till Monday, sold the bounce, and then again and sold yesterday. So I'm out of MSTR right now, and that's it. We had a short on HIMS. I shorted this one, and my entry was the breakout of or breakdown of the flag, bear flag, and gift that keeps on giving for now. So simple technicals,
Yeah.
but even then, like, you can get chopped in those. So I really want to be in those trades shorter than normally. When it comes to gold miners and the European defense, these are long-term swing trades or long-term position trades where I'm using more macro and geopolitical stuff with than the charts. But yeah, that was kind of my thing. Are you guys in TLT or any of those, or you're not touching it?
I haven't been in TLT. I've just been trading the Nasdaq futures for the most
The
part.
Nasdaq.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what's
that's very
been my
fast.
mojo lately. Yeah, it's just with the environment, it's been so crazy. I feel like
Hmm.
that's kind of mainly just better for me versus options for the most part. I'm still taking options trades here and there, just
Hmm.
so much lighter and a lot less. And like you're saying, a lot less swing trades where I'm holding positions for
Yeah.
weeks. You know what I mean? Because the environment's just crazy and the volatility's here. So trying to take advantage of it more throughout the intraday.
Yeah,
What
well,
is
futures
interesting
trading
with
are great. Futures are great for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely love it.
Yeah, yeah.
you trading futures or options on futures, did you say?
No, just futures.
Oh,
Just
okay,
just
I know.
futures. Yeah.
Futures, yeah.
yeah.
It's really fast. I trained futures trading in the summer for 6 weeks. I was in London, and the Nasdaq is just really fast.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I could do that.
I love it. I love it. It's all about sizing, right? Like we were talking about,
Yeah,
and it's just a matter of, like you're saying, it is very fast, but like in this environment, I mean, it's
yeah,
funny. Just depending on where volatility is, will depict like my sizing, right? And
yeah.
some positions I'll be taking, 25-point risk, not a big deal. And then other positions, when volatility is just heightened, my risk might be 50 points, 100 points, and that just means okay, size goes way down. Profit
Hmm.
target is obviously way bigger, right?
Yeah,
And it's just yeah, it's part of that game, part of the mental game where you have to just, all right, let's shut that off. Let's not look at the dollar amount and let's just trust the process, which is not easy to do, and I'm still practicing that every single day, you know what I mean? We're never stop learning as traders, but yeah, it's like you say. I mean, it's fast. They call it the Widowmaker for a reason, right?
yeah.
So
That
I
is
mean, I
true.
mean,
Yeah, it's a really tough
like
one to
right now,
NQ.
I'm in a
My tutor
long.
told me in London to not even touch it because it's really super fast.
Yeah, like I actually just got long NQ, and it's funny. Like we just dropped and went 8 ticks from my stop loss, and that's the market we're in. And I
Yeah.
love these types of positions where you get in a position and you get so close to stop loss and it's just going everywhere. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you learn to love it. You learn to enjoy it as long as you're sizing properly. When you're oversizing, that's when it gets bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
I
the
mean,
reliefs
look,
of the micros have been a big thing
quick
for that,
money.
right? The fact because
Absolutely.
before just gonna old man say
Micro
back in my day,
futures.
there was only the mini contracts, and those were right. You trade at one contract, you could still get destroyed, but with these micros, you're talking what's it like $1 or something per tick, so you can really size down.
Absolutely.
And avoid risk that way. And if anyone's listening to this and they want to get into futures, please start with the micros.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no reason to start with bigger contracts, guys. I mean, you got to realize one NQ contract is 10 MNQs, right? And it's like that is such a big difference in terms of scalability and being able to, take some profits on a position. So definitely, yeah, great tip there because I fully
Yeah.
agree.
Micros. Yeah, and here is my kind of an outline. I drew this like a week ago, and it perfectly literally got where almost I planned to
Mm-hmm.
get, and I think we go lower. I don't know what would be the catalyst for the market right now to actually recover. I don't know.
I'm personally
Um,
long the NQs. I'm targeting just the data highs we had. I think the
but
market
you're
can
in a
go much higher.
short
Yeah,
term
but this
trade,
is
right?
just short
Yeah,
term. Yeah,
yeah. You're
exactly.
in
And
a day trade,
we were
yeah.
talking about some long term stuff, Leah, and
Hmm.
even on these dips, I'm not taking part in buying up these dips. Yeah, I
No,
want to wait for a real
no,
cycle to the downside. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I am not taking part in buying these dips quite yet.
no, me neither.
So yeah.
I don't. It's. I've been warning about it too. And like at the beginning, when we had a couple of days down, I sold a couple of puts. And the VIX went up to like 20 or 1820. It was a little bit elevated. I sold
Mm-hmm.
some puts. And then, you need to recognize when the market changes mood. Like this is not just a regular dip. This is going to be most likely correction, which on Nasdaq we already did start correction, right? It was yesterday dipped almost to 10%, and that's not a time to sell puts. It gets really scary because when you look at the VIX, what happened in August, VIX did reach 60.
Mm-hmm.
And then the options already now we have 25. We're still not even close. Or what was it here? August. When you look at back, it was 60 on VIX. Up here, yeah. Look, so that's when you want to be selling,
Yep.
and it's really super risky. So I'm not even selling puts. What I do on an up day, I sell some covered calls because right now that's the strategy. If you want to just make extra money with selling options on your positions that you're up on, that's a better strategy right now than selling puts, in my opinion. Yeah, and I'm still hedged. I'm still hedged on my long term because
By the
I
way,
don't know. Do you
Nasdaq
guys
looking
hedge your
really
long-term
good.
portfolios or no?
I
Yeah,
um
getting a good
I really,
balance.
if I'm gonna hedge, I probably am just gonna do some covered calls
Mm-hmm.
against my long-term position. But to be honest, I really haven't even been doing that. I wish I did on a few positions in hindsight now.
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't do a whole lot of hedging. It's more sit back and you always hear people say, time in the market versus beats time, trying to time the market, right? And I don't know what that was. And I fully agree with that. But at the same time, I feel like you can do both,
I
right? You
know.
don't have to choose one.
Sorry.
And oh no, you're good. You don't have to choose to time the market or spend time in the market, right? You can do both, in my opinion. And I think that's what I'm trying to do in the long term is not just DCA every day blindly, right? I know time in the market is important, but we can also try and like time some good spots in the market and not just be buying blindly, right? And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
definitely trying to do that as much as possible.
Well, yeah, there's
Nice.
two ways to deal with volatile markets, right? And it's funny because it will sound like I'm saying nothing for the first bit. Is right. You either trade less or you trade more, and kind of what I
Yeah.
mean by that is you do what you say, where you say I'm looking for a big flush. I'm gonna just stay in cash. I'm gonna go golfing. I'm going to because I might be able to soon. It's starting to melt out there. That'd be fantastic. But you avoid the volatility entirely. You shut off your TV. Right? You're just looking every now and then at the holdings you already have and walking away. But the other way is that you just have to get very, very involved on very short time frames. Like again, I think we're all saying is that you're not trading for weeks or months anymore. You're trading for days or sometimes, like I've noticed as well, I'm intending to do a swing trade, but the move happens in a single day. So I'm
Yeah.
looking at it at the close and I'm like, I just got to get out because the volatility is just there that I wanted to hold it for 2 days, but it already got it to where I want it. So, and I think that just is all on your personality. If you're someone who's sitting there at a 9 to 5 and your boss is getting mad because you're
Yeah.
staring at the market so much, you take a breath, take a the market will get fun again where there'll be Ozempic 2.0 or AI 2.0 and things will start moving. But until then, yeah, I think it's either lock in and be really really focused or just sit out, take a nap.
We are about to hit that 220-point price target for my entry on the longs this morning. I did just take a trim at 116 points. And we're letting a runner ride to these data highs. I was risking just the lows of the range into the morning, and so we're sitting back now,
The only
letting that
shot
ride. Nasdaq's looking good.
the only shot I took today is a little
Oh,
bit long on
nice.
Carvana, some CVNA. Just came through an algo, right? Saying this a little bit overdone to the downside. hanging out at an important zone. So this is kind of what we're talking about. Is this, yeah, Carvana's last time it dipped into this 170, 180. That's where I took a trade. So it's right back there again. So I'm just taking a little shot, seeing if it can maybe go red to green. And if it gets around the 200 area, I'm out.
Solid.
I
Very
have
good
my
stuff.
Baba next set up here when we break the high, which we did overnight, but about 145. These are kind of like setups I trade often. Just a breakout. So this is my setup on Baba 145, 23 entry, and then right stop about $5. I'm looking at this one for long.
Very nice. Yeah, that
Yeah.
Baba's been so good lately. Especially
Yeah.
actually options on it have been really good as well. Just catching those moves lately have been great. The consolidation was a little tight over the past week or so, but once
Mm-hmm.
you nail those spots, I mean, look at that beautiful day after that doji candle at the lows there, the range. That was a beautiful day. You can capitalize a lot on days like
I
that.
was
So
gonna leave my position. I entered at 100, but then my business partner told me no, don't, because he saw a huge inflow of money into Baba on his Bloomberg, and he's like, do
yeah,
not leave, stay. So we all
um,
stayed in, and like we were in Billy. We were trading Billy, and yeah, that one is also going crazy still. It's pretty cheap stock, but there is so much institutional flow. Billy, K-Web also, like all the China is just doing really well, and Europe too. So I think it's gonna be in international markets this year, to be honest with you. Or as you said, you can scalp. You know, as I said, I take some trades right and left, but it's not my passion. I like more like a couple of weeks or months and make the money there.
hmm
Maybe I'm lazy.
no, I get you. Real
I
quick,
don't want to
Leah,
work.
I'm gonna
I don't
here.
want
I'm
to
gonna
work
share
too
my
much in
screen
my
real
life.
quick, Leah. If you wanna drop your screen real quick, I'm gonna throw
Okay,
mine up for the
of
chat.
course. Yes.
I just wanna. We'll
Stop.
see if this
Okay.
price target gets hit. We
Yes.
can. Let me see. Do I have it set up? I hope I do.
Remember how I said I got scared out of my lunar this
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
morning? Ripping. Oh well,
Oh
A
that's the
boy.
lunar.
game.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
Uh,
Lunar is fun.
I
So we're
bought a
looking
bit
for this
before,
price target.
so
I took 3 contracts off at about it's like 100 something points there. I was targeting data highs, but we have these internal highs, so I took some off there. I'm holding one runner for those data highs. That's 220 points. The risk was 27.5 points at the lows there. So beautiful risk. Pretty risk off now, just letting one runner ride. Full position's pretty much off, but looking like this price target's gonna hit. MNQ looking strong. MES not taking those highs yet. If we were grabbing these highs right now on MES, I would be trimming here on NQ. So if that does get tapped in first, I'll probably take the trim on NQ. But either way, I'm pretty confident with where the market's drawing to this morning, and I do think that this gets hit, even if we end up taking these highs first on ES. So
Nice.
yeah. So I don't know, like everything I'm looking at is ripping right now, but the question is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Charles Dow taught us 100 some odd years ago, the most important price is the closing price. So everything I'm doing, I'm still keeping a super tight leash on because as we mentioned, I'm going to be interested in buying some if we close over that 575 area on the SPY. But yeah, we need to see that close. I don't how many times I've gotten burnt a couple times this week just buying and it ripping all day and then turns around late day and closes into it. So yeah, just have a tight leash on everything that's bouncing right now because it could just be another one of those. If it's
Yeah.
not, then great, right? I got Carvana. I actually bought just a little bit of Reddit right here as well for a trade. Just little dip buys, little you know sniffing on things on the way down and see if we get a little bit of a bounce today. And if not, if these things roll over and make new lows, then I gotta go.
yep, 100%.
Yeah. That's exactly. You buy if you really want to buy some of those dips, just tight stops. I always said they provide beautiful risk reward. But if you're wrong, you want to get out and not sit in there and then wait for and hope. That's not the trading strategy. To
Right.
pray and hope.
To pray and hope, right?
I'm actually gonna add more into my, Italian defense. I'm going to do that right
Love it.
now.
Very good
Yeah.
stuff. Wait, I before we wrap up, I wanted to ask: have you guys taken part in any of the Robinhood fun that they're doing with the trivia games and stuff? Have you guys
What
tapped
is
into any of
that?
that?
Tell me
They
more.
started doing these they're like Robinhood trivia games where they're allowing users to come on at a certain time of the day, basically a live Robinhood event, and it's a live trivia game, and you're literally answering questions about the stock market for potential to
Oh.
win a share of $1 million in Bitcoin. And so like the last
Oh.
two times, $1 million has been shared across, I don't know, like 600, 700 people. So everybody gets like
Oh
1,300
yeah.
bucks or so. But it's pretty
Oh
cool.
nice.
It's just like this little way for people to get more, like just kind of get more like fun with Robinhood and have like trivia questions and games within it. I just thought it was cool. But I just wanted to see if you guys like had any experience with it because I've been playing with it. It's a lot of fun.
They hate
No, but it
Canadians. I
sounds
can't.
fun.
Oh,
I
you
really
can't.
do.
That's so unfortunate.
Oh, why can't
We
you?
we banned payment for order flow in Canada, so none
Oh,
of the
okay.
zero discount brokers can come up here, right? Because
Mm.
we just said, hey, pay your commission, move on. Some of the banks up here, just so you know how archaic some of this is, are still charging 9.99 a trade. Now, thankfully,
Wow.
Interactive Brokers isn't, so there are some out there, but yeah, we've got like four brokers you can choose from, and they're all pretty bad. So,
Yeah, it's like in Europe, we have terrible brokers there. The only one that's decent is Interactive Brokers, and it's a good broker, but the platform is so outdated. I hate it.
oh, yeah, I've got a $10,000 MacBook, and it still takes like 2 minutes to open their their old bloated platform. So
Yeah.
does
I'm
that
so
mean we should just
confused.
all be buying IBKR right now?
Maybe.
Is that the play? If
Maybe.
we both said they're the best brokers for our countries,
Maybe.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trading here.
Oh, you're good. I'm trading too. We're about to hit this beautiful price target. Let's go.
same. I'm
Well,
about to be
we're gonna
done
wrap
for the
up the
day.
show,
So
but beautiful morning, y'all.
Yeah,
Leah, Michael, always appreciate you guys coming on the FAFO Friday show. We have a lot of fun.
mhm.
So, and just appreciate you sharing your stuff with the audience. I know they appreciate it. So, everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the trading day. Be safe. That volatility is wild. Even this position was
yep.
decently sized, but nothing near like what a real size position would be for me. So, because volatility is just crazy. So gotta be very careful. But everybody trade safe. Have a great day. We will see you back next week. Enjoy the
Thank
weekend.
you. Have a
Bye.
nice